In today's chapter of Chainsaw Man titled Kumbaya, public safety reveals just how willing they are to resort to underhanded tactics in order to achieve their end goals. Barem gets arrested for selling bootleg devil contracts to minors like flavored jewel pods, and we see the start of a potential battle between Asa and Yoshida. Well, sorta. We'll get to that part later. With 3 separate plot points going on within the span of 16 short pages, chapter 145 of Chainsaw Man massively advanced the plot of part 2 as a whole, and also showed me I don't know what the Kumbaya means. So in today's chapter review video, we're going to be talking about all of these plot points and the potential ramifications of them, so stay tuned. But before we jump straight in, it turns out only 35% of the people who watched my last chapter review video were actually subscribed to my channel. So if you like what you see and you want to support the content that I make, consider smacking that like button, subscribing to my channel, and maybe even hitting that bell button. It's fucking dumb. Now, I'm certain we're all aware of this at this point, but it turns out public safety isn't as much of a righteous group as I had once thought. Who knew that a government agency that hired a sexy red-haired version of Big Brother from George Orwell's 1984 would end up not being the greatest people on the planet? What I'm referring to in specific is the first few pages of this new chapter where those public safety agents were talking about how they're going to try to spin media coverage in order to sway public opinion on the Church of Chainsaw Man. They also mentioned that they knew Asa Mitaka was also the war devil this entire time, and they want to arrest her for being the Chainsaw Man Church's poster girl, even though she didn't actually do anything wrong herself. The leader of this group even mentions how he wishes she would have turned Chainsaw Man into a weapon, revealing that he actually knows quite a lot about her current circumstances. Just how much does this guy know, and has public safety also had Asa under surveillance this entire time after Yoru revealed her scars to Yoshida back in chapter 99? At the end of page 3, one of his underlings asks him what he thought the aim of the Chainsaw Man Church was this entire time, and he says, probably just to play as Chainsaw Man. This is where I believe public safety's intelligence runs out, because there's no way that Fami didn't intend for this to happen. If Fami truly is the brains of the organization, she wouldn't have ordered the church to attack innocent civilians unless she intended to get public safety involved. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm pretty sure things are just going according to plan for Fami right now. Later in the chapter, we do get a reveal that the Justice Devil was actually that giant caterpillar devil we saw in the Falling Devil arc, thus begging a few questions. How did the students of 4th East High School make contracts with the Justice Devil if he was in hell the entire time up until the Falling Devil arc? And why did the Justice Devil's power carry over even after the Falling Devil killed him? Thankfully, this chapter answered those questions almost immediately, but unfortunately, this made things even more complicated. I guess this whole time it wasn't actually the Justice Devil after all, and there was an imposter among us. And thank God for that, because I was beginning to miss this fandom coming together every chapter and labeling every new character or concept as the Death Devil. To be fair though, not that I'm saying that this is the Death Devil, but if it is, I'm pretty sure I do remember a theory from a while back where someone said that the Justice Devil could also be the Death Devil. I don't think he mentioned the Death Devil using the Justice Devil as a scapegoat, but if it's true, he at least gets half points. That said, I personally still don't think it's the Death Devil. Now, I also wanted to take a quick moment to talk about Barem and his rather anticlimactic arrest. So first of all, we get an interesting reveal as to where he stands in the Chainsaw Man Church's hierarchy, and we also got his last name, but that wasn't all that important. But it turns out Barem was actually second in command this entire time, meaning he probably worked directly under Fami, and if she knew what was going to end up happening today, he probably did too, meaning he actually anticipated the arrest of himself and his comrades. Could he be planning an attack on public safety from the inside? Maybe he could also be trying to free all of the powerful devils under public safety's control. Now I'm just imagining the Fox Devil or the Cursed Devil terrorizing society after being freed from public safety's basement. I could even see the Future Devil fucking shit up. But the main thing that happened with Barem today was he was singing Kumbaya to himself and watching the sunset as he was being arrested. Now I personally thought that Kumbaya was some kind of peace song sang by hippies in the 60s, but it turns out the song actually originated from traditional African American music potentially a few hundred years ago. Kumbaya is a song asking God to help those in need, which makes sense in this concept seeing as Barem is constantly bringing up the concept of God since his reintroduction in part 2 of the manga. So what is it with Barem's obsession with God and his constant biblical references? Now this topic in particular deserves an entire video to itself to explain what I'm going to try to explain to you now, but if I dive too deep, this video will be well over 30 minutes long. I believe that the god that Barem is referring to is Pochita, or Black Chainsaw Man as Fami calls him. It would make a lot of sense. After all, Pochita was the one who freed all of the hybrids from Makima's control, but I think it actually goes a little deeper than that. A great supporter of my content and friend named Carlos once sent me a huge document containing a bunch of the biblical references within Chainsaw Man and his analysis of said references. One of the huge points he talked about in this document were the parallels between Pochita and God/Jesus. To tie this all together with a neat little bow, I still don't know why the fuck Barem was singing Kumbaya, and I need to get together with Carlos so we can make a video about Pochita being God. So the last important puzzle piece of today's chapter was the arrest of Asa Mitaka and the potential fight that's about to break out between Yoshida and Yoru. First of all, I think everyone was able to pick up from this panel that it doesn't look like Yoshida was all that happy about hurting Asa. I think he's well aware that she's actually a nice girl that's unfortunately found herself in the middle of a massive shit show due to circumstances outside of her control. Even the fact that she would try to fight back is outside of her usual behavior. But she probably wouldn't have been so willing to turn her entire apartment into a weapon if she weren't put on a pedestal and gassed up by the Chainsaw Man Church. From here, I think the next chapter could go one of two ways. Yoshida is either successful in his subjugation of Asa Mitaka, or Yoru will take over and engage Yoshida in what is sure to be a brutal fight. Trying to gauge how powerful Yoru would be in a fight has been pretty difficult thus far, seeing as we haven't actually seen all that she's capable of yet. From part 1 of Chainsaw Man, we were able to see that Yoshida was able to hold his own in a fight with Quan Chi, but was ultimately weaker than her. Then later we saw that even though Quan Chi was so powerful, she was still leagues below Makima, a horseman of the apocalypse. Yoru, on the other hand, while also being a horseman of the apocalypse, we could safely say that she probably isn't nearly as strong as Makima was. But how would she fare against a part 2 Hirofumi Yoshida? I can only assume it'll be a pretty close fight, but I wouldn't be so surprised if this fight ends with Yoru killing Yoshida. I'm not necessarily saying I think this is gonna happen, but knowing Katsuki Fujimoto, no one is safe in his manga. And Yoshida also didn't quite end up being the Aki stand-in we all thought he was gonna be, so his plot armor is surprisingly thin. But we'll just have to wait another 7 short days before we find out. There's no Future Devil prediction this week because the AI chatbot I usually use was giving me some trouble last night, but hopefully he'll be back next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to stick around because I have some pretty cool videos coming up very, very soon, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye now.